That's what happened to me this week. I was trying to make a video to put on YouTube, and I was unaware that my mic had become disconnected from my video recording software. So I recorded over 2 hours, hour and a half, 2 hours of a design. This one, the complete start to finish. And I got ready to start editing it together while I was cutting out the piece, because I wanted to have a piece to show that, hey, the design worked. And when I started to go into editing, I then realized, oh boy, there's no audio. No audio. Just lovely. So all that work. Oof. So I finished doing the B-roll of this, and there's a little short time-lapse video on the channel, YouTube channel, if you haven't seen it, where I just cut that out with the Rolly, and then you get to see the finished piece here. This piece. But this was inspired or came from observing a post in the Rolly Automation Facebook group. Miss Alex had requested a little bit of assistance in designing, and what she posted was a picture of a 2-layer design of a name, and then it had an image on the top of it. And so I was like, okay, I can do that. I can sure do that. And a few people posted ways of doing things, and none, like I said, I said all the time, there's always another way. One of the videos, I think, actually just showed a single layer, wasn't actually a dual layer. And in another one, he said he didn't have a YouTube channel, but probably should. And he was really good on his explanations. He might should. But I said, you know what? As Hobo does, I tend to overcomplicate things. I said, you know what? Instead of a 2-layer, I want to do a 5-layer. I wanted to have some depth and some detail in there. So I said, I'm gonna do that, and I made the video doing that. And Chris asked there, says, can you do a voiceover and salvage it? Because when I record my videos and here in this live stream, I was live, you're going to see all the goofs and all the errors and everything. So it's the same way when I'm recording. And so, to try and edit that and do a voiceover, and oh yeah, that was a mistake. I got to go back and do it. And I just said, so we're going to go over this today, and I'm going to show you how I did this design. I'd asked Alex about possibly joining in the stream, and if she had a very specific name she was wanting to do, and I was going to design it for her. But she wasn't needing a specific name. She's doing really well. She's started not too long ago with the lasering, and she's making puzzles and selling stuff. She's got an online presence now where she's selling goods. So she's just looking to learn how to do this so she can make them and sell them. So hopefully she gets tuned in here and is able to see. And I'm going to just recreate this basic image, basically the same image. But I'm going to be doing some stuff that the other folks don't do. I've mentioned to you before in other videos, your all text is not created equal. And any letter that has a curve on it is going to extend below the line. So in this particular instance, when you typed out Hobo, the H is actually going to be higher up than the other 3 letters. So once you cut it out and label and set it down, if you set it on the tabletop, Oboe would be on the tabletop, but H would be just slightly off the table. Not drastic, but enough to where it could have a little bit of a shake or so I go to the trouble of getting everything on the same plane. And then I don't use the auto weld feature. Lightburn has an automatic weld feature with the letters so that you can move them together and they'll weld up. But there's issues doing that too. And I'm going to show you all that. And I'm going to do my utmost best to put my best foot forward today and be the best hobo I can be. But I'm running on empty. It's now 3 p.m., 3 in the afternoon Eastern time, and I've been up since a little after 3 this morning. I've been up for 12 hours now. And I'm running on empty. And so I'm lucky when I'm fully aware if this was firing on 6 of 8 cylinders. So today I'm going to be, I might be struggling more than usual, but I went to dinner last night, come home, went to bed, finally went to bed around midnight or so, and then woke up at 3 in the morning hurting. Oh, Lord, I was hurting. I felt like I had an elephant sitting on my chest, sharp shooting, stabbing pains. And it was reminiscent of when I was having my heart attacks. And so I was actually scared for a moment. I said a quick prayer and said, oh, I ain't ready yet, but if this is it, Elizabeth, here I come. Turns out it wasn't anything to do with my heart. I had food poisoning, and I'd eat dinner probably around 6 or 7, and by about 3 in the morning, it hit, and I was cramping, hurting bad. Couldn't get back to sleep, couldn't relieve the pain, couldn't relieve the pressure, lots of cramping. And about 7:30, 8 o'clock, I finally was able to get some relief, but I have not been able to go back to sleep. I was afraid if I laid down and went to sleep, then I'd miss this. So we're going to try and do our best. And this week, in addition to screwing up the video, I did do 2 private live streams with my patrons this week. And each of those were, I think, well over 3.5 hours, where we did I did just a general Q&A and some design work. Yesterday, we did a piece with Russ. Russ had an idea after seeing the Hobo layer design. He had an idea to do a Memorial Day layered design, and he had a concept, and he had some ideas involving using my crosshairs, the artwork I've got in the crosshairs there. I've got a mountain scene and a couple of trees. Well, it's the same mountain you see that's painted up there. He wanted to take that mountain artwork, incorporate it with a flag and the Iwo Jima, and make a really nice. So we got online yesterday, and I opened up a private chat for the patrons to join in, and we designed that from scratch. And oh, Sharon, I'm not feeling better. I just got relief. I got some relief. And if you've ever had food poisoning, the relief was just getting it out of the system. And the kick in the teeth, now I got to own it. I had the food poisoning. I must have done it myself, because I fixed my own dinner. And the only thing I can figure is I did a little cross contamination. I fixed some chicken, and I must have cross contaminated when I was preparing that raw chicken, and got a little salmonella poison or something, because boy, but I did it. It wasn't from a restaurant. But let's see here. I'm going to show you a few things that we tackled this week, and then we will jump into this design. And people are always lollygagging late getting here, so I'm going to show you this. And Russ finally got the opportunity to get a piece done and finished, and it looks really good. There was some small tweaking that he did, and a couple of suggestions, because when we designed this live yesterday, we didn't do any test cuts or any design. We just designed it in Lightburn, and I'll show you how, when I do this layer here, 5-layer piece, how you can see what it's going to look like in Lightburn, all the different layers on top of each other, and get an idea of, is there going to be any interference from one layer to the other with seeing the parts that you want to see. And we'll go over all that here in the design process. But here is switch. Make sure I got everything set up right. Yeah. So there's the artwork that Russ sent me and said, hey, I want to incorporate all of these into a design. And like I said, this is off of my crosshairs. And we took that and did some modification to it. And this is actually the background. The flag is one layer. This was going to go on top of the flag once we modified it. And then Iwo Jima on top of everything else. So here are the 4 layers. Once I got everything done working with his input, I changed the aspect ratio of the trees so they weren't symmetrical. Had the mountain there, and then got the flags cut out. So the idea, this is painted white, all white. This is painted all red, and then put hand painted in the blue Union. And then he painted the mountains a color, and then painted the trees green, and then engraved this on top. And let's see here. I got the wrong one up here. There's Sharon's. I want to show you Russ's first. Oh, you know what? It's because I got it. There we go. So that's the design that we did yesterday. There's going to, and I missed it yesterday because I wasn't really paying attention to the design. But this piece right here, we decided to cut this out, or he did. He's seen it. So yeah, we need to cut that out so that you can see through there, because that's a gap. There's his arm and the flagpole. So that's air. And so there we cut, I changed it so that is cut out, and you'd actually see the flag through there just like you do here below his knee. And I like that piece. It turned out really, really nice. I did we knew that the flagpole was going to be fragile. So he didn't change it here. I don't know if he's changed it now, but I changed it on mine. I went in and made this even wider. Right now I've got it at 3 mil. I took it to right almost 4 mil, which, because when I looked down here, I said, well, that pipe is really wide right here and here. So if that is the pipe that the flag is on, then making it larger up here will only look, symmetrical there. So I increased that, and that looks a whole lot better on the design now. But we're going to do some more tweaking with this, and then you'll eventually see that on the website. But that was a request from Russ, and it looked really, really good. And then in one of the live streams with the patrons, there was a question from Sharon about how to resize shapes that were already on a path. If you had circles that had, or any shape that was copied along a path, and you needed to resize all of those without having to go in and grab each individual piece. I said, yeah, there's a way to do that. And I kept looking and I couldn't find it. I see your comment. I'll come back to it, Chris. But I couldn't find it while we were chatting. And she went onto the Lightburn forum and found it and sent it to me and said, oh, yeah. And I'm like, oh, yeah, there. I knew that. I just forgot about it because I demonstrated it in a previous video showing folks on a cribbage board when they needed to resize all those holes on the cribbage board, but they didn't want to go in and do all of them. So real quick, I'll show you. In fact, I'll show you what she was doing. That's what I had pulled up here. And switch. So she had this design with holes cut out in this line art, and she needed to make all the holes bigger. And then what she's doing is reminiscent of some old string art or something, where she's got yarn or something where she uh, makes that. It looks really nice. But instead of having to select each one of those holes, how do you go in and resize them all in a one foul swoop? And if see, I'm done with this. We'll say new file. You know what? I better, yeah, that's Russ's. Say file, new, discard. All right. So if you had a shape, let's do put it in line mode, and you had a circle on here, and you've set this up, and for whatever reason we got a copy a long path, copy along path. Okay. And now you've done all that, and then we'll go on down the road, and you've done 40 more steps in this design, and realize, oh no, these are the wrong size. They need to be something different. Well, you don't want to undo 40 steps to go back and just redo that. And you don't want to select this one and go from 4 and it needs to be 5 mil. And if you didn't lock the aspect ratio, you got to go down and hit 5 mil. Then remember, okay, I got to lock my aspect ratio, then go over here. And then you got to better make sure that you've got your anchor point in the middle, because if your anchor point's in the wrong place and it's down here and you tell it to go 5 mil, well, it's going to change it from here up to here, and it's going to relocate that circle. So that's why you don't want to, do individuals, because you could actually screw it up pretty easy. But all you'd have to do is you set one to the size you need it to be, and we'll make this drastic so you can really see it. We'll tell it to go to 10 mil. And you're like, oh no, I need all those to be 10 mil. Well, if you select every single one of those, and then select the one that's the correct size, hold shift and select that one last. This little tool, these two tools right here, they don't have any description to them, and you might use them once or twice in 3 years. I did. But this is make all selected shapes the same width, and this one is make all selected shapes the same height. So when you select the first one, you see they all went 10 wide, and now you select them all and they go 10 high. So you may find yourself in a situation like that where you need it. And so that's a good tool to remember. I've used it. I just forgot about it. And there were a few of you that were in the stream, and we didn't find that solution. And I wanted to share that with everybody, those that were there in the stream, plus you guys too, because that's a good tool to know. And thank you, Sharon, for bringing that up. And sorry, I didn't have that answer off the top of my head, but we got there. All right. So now, what was it that Chris said? Chris said, when you changed the gap between the soldiers to a cut, did you also do the arm above that? When you changed the gap between soldiers to a cut, did you also do under the arm above it? What you talking about, Willis? Let me pull that up here. I'm not sure, Chris. When you change the gap between the soldiers, talking about right here. Oh yeah, when you change that to a cut, did you also do under the arm above? Under the arm, like right up here. I didn't change any of that. That one was a great big one. But that was the only other change that I made. I think that's what you're asking. But yeah, I changed that line to a cut line. so that the flag shone through. And I guess you could come in here and do an offset and let the flag show through there. But I don't want to make it too fragile because the flag's already fragile enough. Right hand soldier. Oh, I see now. Yeah. What and so he's talking about right here. So yeah, that could probably stand to be cut out as well. I'll make that modification as well. Good eye. And that's what I really enjoy about doing the collaboration designs. When I'm getting ready, because we're now the lollygaggers have shown up. Everybody seems to be here now, and so we're getting ready to jump into the design process. And while I'm doing this in Lightburn, I'm not paying a whole lot of attention to the comments in real time. So it's a little more challenging to take suggestions because as you know, I'll stop and come back and look at your comments every so often and address anything as long as I haven't forgotten or it's now become like either irrelevant or not that it was irrelevant, but I have no idea what the question was referring to because I'm so far down the path. But when we do the live streams and I do a collaboration with folks like Russ or with Craig, it's really cool because you get instant feed. I'm able to actually have a conversation. It's not a chat going on. So it's really cool. I enjoy doing that. And like I said, we did it a couple of times this week. And I'm gonna be doing more of that with the patrons. So, all right. The design collaborations are great because it is obvious to one. Yeah, others might not see. Yeah, what's obvious to one, others don't see. And also, like I said, there's always another way. And sometimes someone can suggest something that's an even better than what you were thinking or seeing. It's like, oh yeah, now that would be cool. So the collabs are pretty cool. All right, so let's get ready to let's go over to Lightburn, clear everything up, file new, discard. All right. So if you're going to do first, what font are you going to use when you do these? If you're going to do names, and it doesn't have to be a name. I started. In fact, I'm going to do one or two different designs that I will put on Facebook because you guys don't want to buy this. There might be one or two that might, but for the most part, nobody's going to want a hobo sign. Not a hobo wilderness sign, unless you just, I don't know, kind of nutty. But peace, love, happiness, whatever you want the word to be. If it's something like that, then you might have something that you can make and sell. In fact, peace, love, and happiness. I might do all three and then offer all three as a package. But what are you going to do with is it going to be a wall hanger? Is it something that's you intend to sit on a tabletop or on a shelf setter? And that's what I like about the 5 layers. It's thick enough that it doesn't need any additional support. It sits on its own and, no hangers, no nothing needed. You could do it as a wall hanger. In fact, Russ does a whole lot of multi-layer designs and he puts them in boxes and then actually puts spacers between the layers and then puts LED lighting between the layers and creates lighted shadow boxes. Really impressive stuff. But what are you going to do with it? And if it's going to be strictly a wall hanger and you don't need it to be a shelf setter, then the bottom part of that plane of the text is less relevant, because if it's going to be hanging on the wall, it doesn't matter what that shape is down there. But if I'm when it comes to something like this, if I'm going to have a whole lot going on inside there with different scenes, colors, images, then I don't want a real busy text and font that in and itself is also busy and crazy. So I like having, this is Arial Black, which is just a really big, blocky, bold Arial font. And so the font itself is really simple and clean and easy, nice straight lines, except for your curved letters, of course. And it makes for doing stuff like this pretty easy. And being that it's a big, open, bold, there's more room in there and something that might be fancy. So let's see here. Looking to see if this is one of y'all hollering at me. Nope. Okay. All right. So over to Lightburn, and we're going to select our Arial Black font. Larry says, I'm going to do one. Yeah. That's absolutely. And it doesn't have to be fonts. Where'd it go? There it is. That's a good point or a nice comment there is your Larry's going to do it with the outline of the state. And if you don't have this in your art library, you probably should, because they are a huge hit to do stuff like he's talking about. Bob says nature, peace, love, and some weed. I can tell I'm guessing Homer is he's a flower child or from that era. Aim, fire, hit, y'all being bad. You sunk my battleship. No. Let's go over here. Auto states. So it doesn't have to be let's see, Kentucky. It's alphabetical, so it should be K-H-I. There it is. So this would need to be a wall hanger or some other modification around it, because with that little kick down there on the state line is not going to be a good shelf setter in just the outline of itself. But you can take that and do an offset. And then go in and add all the artwork and make multiple layers using the state. It doesn't have to be text. But Alex was specifically looking at names, and that's what prompted this. And I'm going to mute the phone. So if anybody tries to message me or text me or anything, I'm not going to see it or acknowledge the phone anymore at this point until after the stream. As soon as I find the mute button, there it is. All right. Oh, uh-oh. There we go. What if the word had the letters Y or G? Would you do it all in caps? I don't like using all caps because, and I've mentioned this in one of my other videos or streams. Yes, you can. You can use all caps. Doesn't matter. It ain't gonna hurt nothing. But before I started, well, in one of my many lifetimes and different hats that I've worn, I used to do a little graphic design and doing signs, big signs, business signs and stuff. And one of the rules or suggestions is don't use all caps, because all caps is harder to read. It's easier on the eyes when you're looking at something. If it's, if you capitalize the first letter of the word, that's fine. And then plus in today's world with texting, all caps is you're yelling at somebody, so, but to each his own. But let's go over here and grab this and start showing you how I modify the text and create when I modify this text and create the offsets, I'm going to have my top and bottom layer right there. I've just created 2 layers by simply putting my text together. Yes, that's Miss Gigi's chain or collar you hear rattling. All right, let's see. Swap. So I'm using Arial Black. I've got my font. I'm going to go over here and I'm going to do capital H O B O. Now I've got 0 horizontal spacing going on right now, but I'm going to come down here below that and I'm going to do another one just to show you why I do what I do when I do what I do. And well, I'm gonna put a nickname, not a nickname in here, Jules, and we're gonna set that over here. And I'm gonna show you first. You also, when you're designing, right from the very beginning, what size are you going to make this? Especially when you're going to be doing the cutouts. If you put something in here that's really, really small and intricate, and you're designing it at 24 inches, and then you say, oh, you know what? I can't do it that. I need to scale this thing down. And I'm only going to make it, 10 inches. Well, now when you scale that down, if it was really small and delicate when it was 24, you've just lost a whole bunch of information and detail when you scaled it down. The information is not really gone, but it may be so small that you're not going to get a good result with your laser. So design it. I like to design with the smallest possible intended use, knowing that I can always scale it up and it's not going to lose detail. It might could stand to have more detail, but it's not going to lose detail. So if I'm working with material that's 12 by 12 or 300 by 300 millimeter, put that on my tool path and send that to my home position. Not there, my home position. There we go. Then I can take these and say, okay, well, I'm going to start out with making it aspect ratio locked. I'm going to do 10 inches wide. Aspect ratio is locked. I want to tell it 10 inches. And I got a little room there to play with. Jules, if I've got that one and I tell it also 10 inches. Now you see the letters are smaller, but I can only do, 10 inches, give or take, if that's what my end goal for that piece to be. Now I'm going to take this one and I'm going to increase my horizontal spacing. I just added 3 mil to my horizontal spacing. I don't even think that's a mil. I think it's 3 points. It has something to do with the size of the font. But I just increased the spacing on that one. I didn't this one just so I can show you why I do it up here. Once I've got that set up, and and to show you what I was talking about as far as the letters don't always line up, if I bring this right here, a guideline to the bottom of that H, see how the O and the B, they extend below the line. And if I come over here with that same and put it at the bottom of the W, the flat W, extends on the E and the S and the J. Well, this one would probably be okay because it's going to be equally balanced. The 2 letters on each, well, close to the ends, but I don't like that. I want everything level. So to do that with a font, you have to convert it to a path. So I'm going to select all this. I'm going to right click and convert it to a path. Now, when I do that, it's no longer editable. You can't change it. And all the pieces are broken apart. So I need to regroup each of the letters. And what I'm doing all this, the other folks that show you these videos, they don't do that. They're just going to do welded text and be done with it, and that's good enough. I don't like good enough. I like perfection, and I'm not perfect, but I strive for it. But now that that's grouped, and grab each of those and group them together. And now that those are grouped together, I'm going to take all of these and I'm going to do a 3mm offset. So offset, I'm going to do outward 3mm, and I don't have it in metric. Let's go to metric and offset 3 outward. And I need to do inner and outer. So if you have outer shapes turned on, you want to turn that off because you need that inner part of that O. If you did outer shapes only, you don't get that. So inner and outer, 3 mil, and I want to do corners and say okay. Now that I had and my neighbor's playing with his horn out here. I'm going to undo that because also I'll point out to you when you do that offset outward corner, I've got select resulting objects turned on and optimize and simplify results and say okay. Now what's selected is the offset, and we did inner here and outer, but I need to ungroup those. And because I had select resulting objects turned on, all I got to do is come up here and hit ungroup. And the reason I ungroup those is now I need to select each individual letter and its offset and group that back. I don't know if the first initial grouping was absolutely necessary now that I think about it, but now all of those are grouped together and I can select all of that and tell it to align to the bottom. And if you watch, the H moved down because it was higher than the rest of them. And now when I look at a straight line across the H, it all lines up with the B. Now that part of the B is up higher, which is not going to be an issue. If you wanted to be really crazy, you could go in and grab those nodes and pull that down. But I want it to sit level, and you're not going to notice that. But a little, if that H was left up there that high, then it could teeter a little whenever you try to do it before. But now all those are on the same plane. I've got the offsets for them. Everything looks right. And I increased my horizontal spacing on that one to get this. Now, Jules, I did not do the horizontal spacing. In fact, let's grab this. I'm going to duplicate it and we'll bring it down here because I'm going to show you a couple things. I'm going to take this and we're going to use the welded text. We got welded turned on, and I'm going to decrease my horizontal spacing and bring that in until it welds the letters. And this is what you'll see a lot of folks do. But I want you to look at how this thing is welding. I'm going to put it back to 0. That's just as Jules was typed out. If I start decreasing that horizontal spacing, the J and the E have started to weld. The W and the E have started to. That lower part of the S has, but this hasn't. And so we have to keep bringing that down till we get it to where, because I wanted, let's see, I wouldn't want to leave that little bit of cut right there. So I'd bring it on down one more and get that welded up. And now you've got welded letters, but they are not uniform in the way that they're welded because of you had parts of each letter attaching before the other did. And that's one reason why I break it apart and put it in a path. Because now what I'll do is I'll take and select all of these, and I've got 0 padding turned on, and I'm going to dock it all the way to the left. I've got all 3 of them selected, but I'm going to dock it to the left, and that's with 0 padding, and it will make it come into contact with the H right here, and the B, and the O. They've all moved together to the left and bunched up against each other because I had 0 padding turned on. Now, what would be really nice, Chris, if you're still with us, next time you're talking to the guys at Lightburn, is if you could use a negative value right here. if I could take that down to a -1 or a -2 to actually make it dock and overlap a negative amount would be really ideal, because now to get these to weld up like I want them to and to have them uniform, I got to take this, and I've got my movement settings set to 1 mil with the shift arrow and a 1/2 mil with the control arrow. So cancel. If I select this O out here first, do shift and left arrow, control left arrow, that's 1.5 mil. Then I can select both of these and shift and control, and then select the last and shift and control. Now they've all overlapped each other 1.5 millimeters. And now if I add the H to that group and now weld it together, now I've got a perfect symmetrical spacing and of each of the letters. And I think that looks so much better than using the weld feature of the text to create this particular artwork, because I just don't like how this is all mushed together right there. That just, to me, and I've messed up my T-bar here. There we go, and switch. To me, and this is my opinion, and you know how opinions are, the way I do this is just a much better way to do it for especially if it's something you want to sell. If you're doing something quick, you use the weld feature, do an offset, be done with it. But if you want something that's going to look really nice, uniform, take the time to set it up that way. So, and like I said, and this is a much longer process to do it like that. I think it's worth it in the end. And plus, right now, we've just created, if you wanted to do a 3-layer design, you've just created top and bottom. All you got to do now is put one scene in the middle, and you've just created a 3-layer design. Where are the first two layers? Well, let me show you. And I was going to show you one more thing about this. Here, instead of using the weld feature, if the way that those come together, I showed you how certain letters touch before the others do. And actually, that's all irrelevant. There was another thing I was going to show you, but we ain't gonna worry about it. So if this is what I feel like is my my perfect piece, I'm going to take this and I'm going to duplicate it and I'm going to move it up here. So that's there. It's not going anywhere. I've got that. Now, this is what I'm going to use to start editing and making my copies. But first, I want to get my back piece, the back of the very back layer. So I'm going to ungroup all this, or actually just hit ungroup, and that's all ungrouped, but everything is still selected. So now what I'm going to do is just use my control button, holding control, and click on the pieces that I don't want. And the pieces I don't want are the inner pieces. So I don't want the inner part of the H or the inner part of any part of the O. Because the O is actually here and here, with this being an offset. So I'm going to come right here, holding control, and I'm going to select that, and that actually deselects those. And I'm going to come over here to the B and the O over here and do the same thing. I don't want any of that or that. Now I'm going to group that back together and hit Control D and duplicate it. Move that over here. There's my backboard. There's my back piece. Group all that back together, duplicate it. There's my top layer, which is the same thing that's up here. But there's layer 1 and layer 3 if you're only doing a 3-layer design. Uh, and show you here. And I made this out of my scrap material. But if you see the O and the O and the B is cut completely out. So you got to remember to, when you're getting your backboard piece, to cut out the back holes for those letters. So you've got the outermost perimeter and the very innermost. And then the top layer is the black layer that I painted black. And these, of course, the inner pieces of those O's and the B's, they're going to fall out because they're not attached. But that's okay. You do have something. We're going to maintain that throughout that entire the layers, so that when it's time to glue those up, there's something to glue it to. All right, now, one of the videos that was shared in the Rolly Automation group on Alex's comment showed where they just went and grabbed an image off of wherever. I don't even know. I didn't pay attention where they got it from. They might have something I already had, but it was an actual artwork. It was an image, something like, let's see, when we go to my camping. Sometimes I forget how to spell. We'll pull that up here and pull that in here. And may clean this up, and then I'm going to show it to you. I ain't showing it to you on purpose right now. Okay. So one example, they had an image that they just brought into Lightburn, and then they used an offset of the letters as a cookie cutter, if you will, to go in and cut out a piece of that image to do the inner part of those letters. And that's fine and dandy if you're able to get what you want where you want it. But depending on the letters or the name or the word or the shape that you're using, you may lose some really important detail of the image that you want to have in there. In fact, I'm going to bring in a second image while you can't see it. Downloads, and not that. Come on now. Ding dong, ding dong. Am I doing? I didn't do import. I did open. Way to go, stupid. Import. There we go. And there, open. All right, so I've got two images here, and I'm going to share you. Now I'm going to share these with you and show you why I'm not a big fan of using images. All right, switch. All right. So if I wanted to make it a camping theme, and I wanted to do, the RV and maybe a mountain scene, or this girl that's hiking, the padding looks like it is incomplete in version 2. It will accept a negative input, but still moves to 0. Okay, so maybe they are. That indicates one of two things. One, they forgot to. Oops, didn't mean to put that up there. Either they forgot to make it stop at 0, or they forgot to allow it to move that negative distance. Moving negative distance would be really cool to have to create that overlap, because I overlap a lot. I don't want to just take it to it sometimes, especially when you're welding designs together. But if I'm doing Hobo and I want to have a camper scene, and I bring this down here, and I'm going to stretch it out to fit Hobo. And if I get the tires kind of in there, and I'll put this in line mode so you can see it a little better. There you go. And so you're like, okay, well, all the mountain's gone because all that's above Hobo. And in fact, what the heck? Let's just do, because we can always undo this. But if I take that image and put it in the center of the Hobo, and then I just simply, and when you use well, hold shift, select that, control B, Boolean tools and intersection. See there, the Hobo's gone. There's Hobo, but not your image. That's not what you want. And actually, that probably is what you want, but it's not all of it. So the Boolean subtract tools are an issue whenever, and this is probably where I'm thinking where Alex might be struggling with trying to get the result she wants. That's because you need additional pieces. Oops, I didn't do that. Control Z. But either way, I'm not going to get an image that I like. I'm not going to like that big of the RV. And if I shrink it down to where I'm like, okay, well, the RV still kind of split between the B and so I don't like doing images, and I don't do images. And if I bring this down here and I'm looking at it and I'm like, okay, well, this is still an image, but I've still got the same issue here to where if I make the mountains, fill the whole thing, then she's elongated, and if I blow the whole thing up so it stays proportional, now she's way too big, so that don't work. So for me to get the information that I want, the images that I want, I don't use full pieces and a cookie cutter stamp out, and then I'll use pieces of artwork and then scale them up. And because I'll use this image that I've got on here, the girl hiking. I'm going to take that. In fact, because that was the image that I got the artwork for the mountains and the tree line. She's not in it, of course, because it just this is just me. I could have shrunk her down and put her down here in the bottom of the H or over in the bottom of the B there. But she would have been relatively small to keep the perspective correct. Or if you wanted to change it so that you're really right up on top of her and she filled up a large area of the B, you could have done that. But I decided, that's clean, simple, and she wasn't needed. And in my case, I could have took the bun off of her and made it look like a guy, but I'm like, nah. So to get what I want, I'm like, okay, well, I'm not hating the artwork. I like the trees and I like the mountains, but they don't fit for me. And I don't want the whole thing. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to duplicate this, because when I start making changes, I don't want to have to undo if I want to come back to something. Now I'm going to take this one and I'm going to ungroup it. Everything's ungrouped. Now I'm going to select all of this mountain right here, and it won't let me select all that mountain because if you look right here, I didn't go all the way down to encompass the tree, and that mountain is connected to that tree. So in order to get that side of those mountains, I didn't ungroup it, stupid. Ungroup. There we go. Now, still though, same thing. I got some of it, but I didn't get all of it because the tree is involved over here. So when I move that up, you see how part of that tree, the mountain, is still there, but That don't look terrible. In fact, if I just say, oops, grab all of that, bring it over here, and then get rid of these random pieces that I don't want for sure. There's a little piece right there. Don't need. I can even get rid of that one. And eventually that one. I could make that work if I wanted to, but if I wanted it exactly like that, this over here where it's all welded together is my problem area. So I'm going to select all of that area again and then hold shift and grab that part of the design. Now it's selected. I can bring that down here and see, oh, okay, there's a whole lot there. But now I can see it. I'm going to come over here. I ain't worried about that piece. I'm just going to put it in line mode, window, wireframe. I'm going to draw me a straight line. There, there. Anywhere it connects to the tree. I'm on now. My fingers, well, I didn't mean to do that, but that worked. And here. And now I can use the scissor tools and cut out all the tree part. Then if I cut on the lines that extended across there, and I put them on a tool path, if I would have put them on the black layer, it would have just auto joined. But that's not a problem. I'll get them all cut down to where I want it to be. And then that right there can go away. If I select all of those toolpath lines right there and put them on the black layer, and then select that and tell it Alt J to join or close path. Let's try that and that, edit, close path. Oh, it ain't joining. If I should have done that with the black layer and it would have joined it. That's join. That's join. Join. Just grab it. I'm in node editing, and so I can grab it, a node and snap it to it, and that closes it. That one ain't wanting to close, so we're going to go out of node editing and try close path. Actually select that and group it and hold that and close path, edit. Nope, still ain't working. Undo, ungroup. I keep doing group instead of group, ungroup, there and there. Alt J. Nope, that ain't working. Got to use, and this is where I screwed up. Well, I actually did join them. If I would have used the black layer instead of the toolpath, it would have joined it when I used the scissors. But there we go. And I can now actually go in and note that one didn't join because it's not connected. Thought it did. There. And now actually just select those and letter D to delete them. Clean that up a little bit. And now if I look at that, group it and put it back in Field smooth. All right, so I've still got an open path, or else that would have been filled. There's a tool path there. This one, ungroup it and tell it to close path. Nope. Where did I do it? Oh, no, there it is. That's fine. This is what the fun part, doing something live. Put those back on the black layer, node editing, snap them together. That's filled now. I missed it. That worked. That was the piece that was missing. All right. So now I've got that mountain, and actually I've got several mountains here. This group right here, I grab that, that, and that. Didn't get them all. That's why it's so much easier when it's in line mode. Wireframe, you can see it. There's a piece that's missing. I don't want that up there. So ungroup, hold control, deselect that, hold control, select that, and hold control and select that. That should be all of them. Group that back, put it back in fill, drag that down here. I still missed that one. Dadgum you, but I'll just put her in there. It was in there somewhere like that. And group all that. So there's a set of mountains. There's a set of mountains. So that's a lot of work to get what it really ain't that much work. It's just that this is not 100%. I'm working on no sleep. Oh, so I can get rid of all of this again. I've still got my original up here because I'm going to get my trees in a minute. But now I've got some mountains, and because I broke them up, I've got, I can put them down side by side or zoom in or out. But that's my back piece back there. All right. This is my top piece, which is here. These are my finished pieces. I don't want to edit there. I'm going to bring this over to this. And if I only wanted to do 3 layers, then all I've got to do is get my mountains positioned where I want them across this piece, and then bring my trees down and do the trees and the mountains all at one time. And maybe that was like that right there or something like that. I could bring those down and weld them together if I wanted to, but we ain't going to worry about that right now. I thought I had that grouped. Dagnabbit. I grouped this one, but I didn't group that one. Way to go, dum dum. This is not going to be one of my better days. And again, I blame it on 3 hours sleep. So my sincerest apologies. But and here, in fact, this is a good. If I put that to where it's kind of lined up there, and then bring these over here, and if I get this mountain positioned in the H where I want it, kind of like that, and then if I drag this on out here, you see I'm starting to elongate it and put that back. I'm looking at these three peaks, just trying for optimum position. But that's why I was saying a minute ago. So I've got all this grouped together, so it's making it really hard to get this where I want. So if I ungroup that one time and just grab these and set them out of the way, and I'll gum you that piece. I'm gonna kick it to the curb, and I only work with this one, and I get those peaks where I want them to be in the H. That's fine. Then I've got a whole nother piece of artwork that needs to be grouped. And I can bring that over here and change that around, make it bigger, smaller, stretch it out, whatever needs to be done to get it to work and line up where I want it to be over here. So I'm not hating that too much. And if I brought it on out to there like that, that ain't shabby for what I'm looking at doing, because I'm gonna bring trees in here too. So I'll have trees and I'm gonna put on top of that. So about and this is why I don't like working with one image. Because when you're working with one image and you start trying to stretch it out, yeah, you can mirror and you can mirror the mountains and have it wouldn't be perfectly symmetrical. Uh, and I could flip that second set, like you're saying. That, but by changing that second set, we'll look at it and see. I think because I think I actually did do that with this one. Now that you say that, I can't remember. But by having only one image, you're handcuffed on what you can do with making that image fit your area that you're working in. So the more images you've got that are individual, the more flexibility you've got. And Brooks was saying if we took this, I think he's that second image there and mirror it. You know, that incomplete over here, because the way I edited the begin with, I don't know. I like how these are going to marry up. I'm just going to go back to what I had for to. I would play with it even more, and that's the beauty of doing your own thing. You just find what works for you and keep going. But I want to get through this process because I'm not going to do just the three layers. I could bring in the trees right now. We'll weld the mountains in and then weld trees in there, and you'd have the backboard, a layer with a mountain of trees, and then the outline on top. But I'm going to show you how I get if I'm coming from the back, which is that solid piece, that's layer one. How do I get layer two that's going to go between the back and the mountains? Because here I have the backboard, which is painted blue. And then I've got the brown, which are the mountains painted brown. And then a layer on top of that, which is the snow peaks. Well, how did I get that brown layer? Because you see the snow peaks are proud and up on top of there. Well, once I create this layer with the mountains, I've already created the other layer. It's there. I just got to separate it. So I've positioned the mountains where I like them to be. So I'm going to say, okay, now how do I get the images and the O's and all that? And this is where a lot of people get lost and confused. And I'll be honest with you, I'm not going to go right to the first. If you said, hey, just do it, I don't know which one I would want to use either, because I'm using two different images here. And sometimes it gets confusing even when I've had some rest, but I ain't. And because if you're new to this, you're going to be fumbling through it too of the first few times. So showing you how to use the Boolean tools, and then not only using the Boolean tools or the Boolean assistant, but what two shapes do you grab to use the Boolean assistant? Because if you grab the outline, the two offsets, versus grabbing the inner part of the H, you're going to get two totally different results. So let's take a look at that. In fact, now that I'm good with this right here, and I like that positioning, I'm going to take this and I'm going to duplicate it. And I'm going to bring it down here because that's what I want. So I'm not going to edit that. That's the piece that I want, or that's the layout that I want. So I'm going to start making the edits down here and see if I can't get what I want. And since these, that's, in fact, let's go ahead and weld these together. You can see this overlapping. I've got one selected. I'm going to hold shift and select the other black mountain layer and weld those together. And that'll make this area go away like that. So now that's one piece on that black layer. And if I take, and this is what a lot of you do, you say, okay, well, I'm going to use the Boolean tools. So I'm going to take the Hobo and I'm going to hold shift and select the mountains and do the Control B for the assistant and get what's the union. Well, I don't want that because that's got all the mountains sticking out over here and in between. So that's not right. That's not right. And that's not right. And that's not right. So grab that Hobo and ungroup it. I see a comment here. What's he saying? Thank you for taking the time out of your day to help educate us, even when you're tired. Boy, I wished I was just tired, Fred. Oh, I wished I was tired. I am miserable. Oh, all right. So, in fact, let's go over here to window and I'm going to go to wireframe course, put everything in line mode. And I'm going to put the tool path is my 300 by 300. I'm going to put that down here. Right here, I've got two layers in my cuts and layers. I got the red and the black. And if you look at this, whenever this was in fill mode, you can see the black is sitting on top of the red. If you're not seeing that, that's because your priority over here is changed or inverted. So, because if I move that up in the priority, see how that brings the red up on top of the black. So if I want that the other way, I do that. Just change your priority over here in your cuts and layers. And that's just when you're, so you can see when, if you were doing, and well, you'll see when I get there. So I'm going to select this red layer and I'm going to ungroup it. And something's still grouped. It looks like the outer offset is still grouped because there's the outermost cut and there's the outermost cut and it's grouped. But the letters are not. God bless you, Moses. Those are not grouped. Now, here, if I select, in fact, you know what? I need to put this in fill mode so you can see it. Fill. There we go. Right now, because of how I select this, if I select both that outer and the inner, then I'm going to be trying to use the Boolean tools to subtract this solid piece from this. The only solid piece is just that outline. It's that 3 millimeter outline. That's all that exists. But if I only select this inner part of the H right there, if I go to preview, see, that's a solid H. That's one solid piece versus that. It's only that 3 millimeter outline. So if I want to subtract, I want the mountains to remain, and I want all that inner part of that other H to go away. And if and right now, because these are two different letters, I'm going to come over here and I'm going to grab that O, that part of the O, and that part of the O. And I'm going to group those together. And then I'm going to group the inner part of that H. And I don't know if I got it, so I need to go back to line mode. Window, wireframe. There we go. So there we go. So now you can see I've got the inner and just the letter, not the offset. hold shift and grab the letter, not the offset, and go to preview. You can see I've got that. Those are two solid pieces of material. Hold shift and select the mountain range. But now see, this is where I welded all that mountain together. I'm not getting all this over here. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to get the B as well. I'm going to select this B and that B and weld that, group it together rather. And this O and that O and group that together. Hold shift and select the B and then the HO. Group all that together. Preview. There you go. I've got, see, there's no offsets, and it's just the innermost part of the complete letter. Now that, hold shift and select the mountains and control B and look at the preview options there. That's not right. That looks like it's kind of what I want, but that's exactly what I want. That's not what I want. That's what I want. So I'm going to select that. I'm going to put it on the red layer. Oh, say okay, dummy. Say okay. And I've got some pieces here that weren't grouped, but that's okay because I can select those and just put them on the red layer if I want to cut them out. This guy right here don't need to be here. He can go away. These guys can go bye-bye. I don't want to do that. I want to do that and that. I can get rid of that one. Put those on the red layer. Should have had it grouped, and I could have went back and in fact, well, no, I'll just keep doing this. This is part of the no sleep. This will need to be changed and modified, and I can do that by just grabbing that, go to node editing, grab those two nodes. And people, I had mentioned this week, they didn't realize you can move more than one node at a time. If you go into node editing and grab that and grab all the nodes that you want to move, and just then once you've selected them, you can just drag them around. Now I've got something funky going on right there because I got an extra node, but I'm going to move that down. Oop. Control Z, put it back. We'll grab all that, move that, and I didn't grab a node. You got to grab a node and move it. There we go. And then I can clean up that funkiness right there by just simply deleting that node by hitting the letter D. There we go. And put all those on the red layer for cut. And I don't need that or that or that. And the reason that those were there is because I didn't have that image of the mountains fully grouped when I used the Boolean tools. I could have went back and regrouped it and then done the Boolean tools, and it would have gotten rid of the pieces that I didn't want to have there. All right, so there is the beginning of, if I wanted only to do 3 layers, that would be the beginning of the 3rd layer. Then I could bring the trees in here and put the trees on top of that and weld the trees in place. And then that'd be okay. But then to me, it kind of starts to get a little bit muddy with putting trees. So that's why I like the definition of the other layers. But I said that this was the beginning of if this is layer 1, this could be layer 2 and layer 3. Because if I want this area up here to be the blue sky above the mountain peaks, then that needs to be on a layer by itself. And to do that, I need to select all of this, duplicate it, bring it down, because that one's good. That's going to be my mountain layer. That one's finished. So now I'm going to take this one And anything that's above the mountain peaks, I'm going to select and delete anything that's above the mountain peaks. Group all that. And there's the next layer. So that'd be layer 1. That's the back. That'd be painted blue. This would be layer 2. These are the mountains themselves. I painted that brown. Then I took this one, painted this one white. That's the snow caps. This is the very, very top layer. So now I just need my trees. And switch. Come on. Even my switcher's broke or tired today. It don't want to switch. Oh, like I said, you can do you could have added the trees right back in on top of that layer that you just added the mountains to. I'm doing a little bit more work here and I'm creating 5 layers instead of 3 or instead of 2 because I'm lazy. And you're going, wait a minute, you just made a whole lot more layers and you're doing it because you're lazy. Yep. I'm doing it because I'm lazy. It's like the design that we did yesterday with Russ and the one layer that's the flag. He painted all that red and then he had to go back in and paint the union with the stars blue. I don't like having to be that. This is painted with spray cans. Every bit of it, all spray paint. And I was able to do that because each layer is an individual layer and it was simple just to paint a color, stick it on top of another, paint a color, stick it on top of another. So when it comes time to assemble and paint and finish, by having each of those, the mountains, because if I did the mountains and the snow peaks on the same layer and I wanted to have the brown mountains and then the white snow peaks, well, I'm sitting here having to paint the snow peaks on there. I'm too lazy for that. And you've seen how quick, once I created the mountains to create that extra layer, it's just a matter of deleting those other pieces. So there wasn't any more work to it. Not really. But now let's look at adding trees. And if you notice, I kept this piece right here. And the reason I kept this piece over here is because now I'm going to use that to help me with my tree placement to make sure, to make sure my trees are going to be where they're going to look good in relation to the mountains and the position of the letters. And if you had 8th grade art or 7th grade art class, the closer you are to something, the larger it looks, right? Because as you know, a lot of you, I'm right-handed, and so my mouse is over here, and so I'm constantly using my right. So that's why my right hand is so much bigger than my left. See, my right hand is a whole lot bigger. Perspective, right? So the larger it is, the closer it is to you, and we're going to do that with the trees and the position of them. And by making the trees bigger and smaller, it's pushing them away. We're creating more depth, even though they're going to be on the same layer. It's perception. All right. So I'm going to come over here and now I need to grab these trees. And looking at this, I'm gonna grab these three and these two. So I'm done with the mountains now. So I'm not worried about keeping a duplicate of this too much. So I'm just going to come over here and I'm going to draw a line that's going to be from here. And you know what? Let's do it right this time. Let's do a black line and go from here to here to here to here, up to here, and then back down over here and stop the line. And now use the scissors to come in here and start cutting away this stuff that I don't want. All right. And I can get rid of the line too. So I go back over here and select just the line and delete it. Those are open, and that's a bunch of little pieces I don't want. Delete those. And that's fine for right now. Over here, that just needs to be node edited. Go into node editing, select those, letter D to delete them, select those, D to delete them, and that tree's cleaned up. And here I just need to draw a straight line down through there. Actually, you know what? I'm only going to get these two trees. So I'm going to come back here, pencil tool, and draw a line from here to here. Scissors, cut there. Come on, cut there and there and there and there. And see, by using the black layer like I should have earlier, that automatically connected those using the scissor tool. Now I just need to close these up. I'll go into node editing, and the shape ain't right. I'm going to close it first. And that's a curve, so I need to curve it back this way so I can connect it there. Connect that. Same thing, curving out on me. Turn that out so I can get it there. And I may end up actually deleting some of these, but I want to get it connected first so I can see what it looks like. And all right. So now, and I need to group them in there. So holds actually, I don't want to group it yet because I ain't through editing that. I need to clean that up. So now that I can see that and see what it is, I'll just go in here and get rid of the nodes I don't want. That's making a curve. I can just delete it. And actually just hit L for line, straighten that out. Grab that one, and hit D for delete and L for line. Because see, there's only one node here and one node there. And these two handles have got it pulled curved way out there. Well, if I just hover over that area and hit the letter L, I don't need to delete those nodes because I need to maintain that curve. Because watch what happens if I select these nodes and delete them. It changed that whole curve of that piece right there. So Control Z to maintain that curve, I hover over that line and hit the letter L. And it just straightens that out and makes that a straight line between those two nodes. And here, I'm going to delete this, letter D, and I'm going to make this an L for line. I'm on. Said I was L. Well, got to hit L, not the semicolon. All right. So now I got that, and now I can just grab that line, and there's a little piece right there I don't want. Let's select that and get rid of it. Delete and not the letter D. But now I can select that again and just curve that out and give it some contour And if I want to create a little bump like that right there, I'll just come over here and insert a line, or insert letter I for insert a node. And I need to make that a corner so that this side, because when I move this handle moves too. So if I hit the letter C, it changes that to a corner, and that makes that stay still. And now I can just pull that down. That needs to go bye-bye. And we're going to fix this up over here. Line, curve it out a little bit. We'll insert here. Curve that. Oh, got to grab it and curve it down. There we go. Letter S for smooth. And, oh, come on. And we're not going to spend a whole lot of time. Oh, those over there got to go. Edit. And there's same thing. I got node and node. If I just hit the letter L for line, that'll clean that up and get rid of all these right here. And that's better. And for the size these trees are going to be, that's plenty good enough. That's good enough. Now let's grab all that and group it. And so now I've got 2 trees that I can use. And over here, I got rid of part of that tree by accident whenever I cut that line across the bottom, but that's okay. I still got 2 trees here that are different than those, and I'll use them. So to get rid of that little piece, get rid of that little piece. Line, straight line, scissors. And just go to node editing, and we'll get rid of all of that little tree. D for delete, and D for delete. And let's get rid of these. And node editing, get rid of these. Get rid of these. And we're going to B for break, and grab that, extend it down here. B for break, and pull that out of the way, and then grab that one and pull it over here to that one. That welds that tree together. We need to get rid of these guys. And instead of trying to go up there and clean those up, we'll just come right here and B for break, move out of the way. B for break, bring it down to that one. Now that's grouped. We can grab those, bring those 2 trees over here. And if you're going to be doing something like this and you're going to say, you know what? You wanted to do, all your names are going to be a mountain theme. And you're going to be using this artwork or these trees and that mountain. It's what your art library is for. Don't do this every single time you need to create a name. Once you've got those mountains that you like, then all you do is put them in your art library. If you're not sure how to do that, that's a quick instruction. So these mountains right here and these mountains right here, I'm going to Control D. I'm going to duplicate them because I don't want to move them yet because I'm still going to be using them. But if I've got this mountain range and I'm like, you know what? Let's weld them together. And now I want to have that at my disposal anytime I need it. Well, you just select that and you come over here, and I don't think I've got anything that's mountains or anything like that. But right now I'm going to put this in my camping folder. Right here, camping. If you don't have a library set up, then to open your art library, you go to window and come right down here to art library and check it to turn it on. And that'll bring up your art library over here. Now, it may populate in the middle of your screen like that. Well, to dock it over here with the rest of your stuff, you just grab the menu up here and bring it over here until you there. And once it turns blue like that, you can release it and it'll dock it with the rest of them. And if you don't have a library set up, let's say I don't have one. I want to put it in mountains. I want to create a new art library. New. And where are your libraries going to be stored? If you're not using libraries, then you're going to create that and put it where you. But if you're already using libraries, you need to know where your libraries are at, so you can keep them all together. And mine are on my desktop in my Lightburn folder in my art library, and LB Art are all of my libraries. So I'm going to come down here. I'm creating a new one, and it's going to be called Mountains, and say save. And as soon as I do, it populates that over here, Mountains. I got a brand new folder in here for Mountains. There's nothing in it, but now I select this and tell it to import graphic from project and give it a name. And I'm just going to name it number 1 and say, okay. And that puts that over there in my art library for if I ever need mountains again. Now I got to just come find that folder, click on it, and it brings those in. I'm ready to use it. I don't have to go through everything you just watched because I already did it. And if you're going to be doing your own creating, you're going to be taking pieces of this and pieces of that. You're crazy not to be saving these things so you're not having to do it over and over and over. Because I saved it when I did it Hobo, but you wouldn't have seen anything by me or wouldn't have learned as much by me just bringing in that saved pieces and putting them in there. So I told you I'm going to show you my whole process. I'm showing you the whole process that I did to create that. All right, so that's in my art library. I don't need that anymore. I've got this down here. I've got some trees. I've got some partial trees over here. That's an open shape, and I might fix that before I start welding them into place. But before I do, I'm going to look at my placement of things. So now I'm going to start looking at these trees and where I'm going to put them and what sizes do I want them to be. So this one over here, I've got a lot of vacancy because there's not a lot going on with that mountain. So I'm actually going to put the larger, I'm going to duplicate this. That way I've got my originals to begin with. I'm going to come over here. I'm going to shrink this down, keeping it as big as I possibly can here. And I'll put that one there. I'll shrink it on down a little bit more. I'm looking here where this overlaps. I'm kind of liking that. Now, here is my trick for seeing how those are going to look on top of each of the layers. I put those layers in fill mode and then also make sure that the priority is in the correct order over here. And I use the colors of the palette down there on my layers to closely resemble what I might paint them as. So if I'm thinking I'm liking this position right here, let's take these trees, and since they're trees, let's put it on the green layer and let's put it in fill mode. And it is, but I'm in wireframe mode right now, so you can't see it. The black layer, let's see here. You know what? I need to add another layer. I'm going to grab this right here and I'm going to duplicate that. And I'm going to put it on a light blue layer and tell it to go to the center of this right here. So now that's centered up and it's in line mode. I need to put it in fill mode. and it needs to be in the very, very, very back. And you'll see this in a minute when I put it in the wireframe or and change the window mode. And actually, we can probably do that now. Let's see. Window, field smooth. All right. So now these are not the right mountains because that's over here, but I can see where these trees are going to be and how much of what it's going to cover up. So if I'm like, okay, I'm I'm all right with that. In fact, it could even be uh, potentially a little bit bigger or a little bit prouder. And a lot of this tree is going to get cut off, but that's okay. Uh, and if that top of the tree is all the way up in there, instead of me seeing the top, I'm okay with that too. So if I'm okay with that position, I say, all right. And now if I want to use those same trees again, duplicate them and go ahead and flip them this time and move those over here, put them on the green layer, change the size of them so they don't look like they're obviously the same two. They're on the same green layer. 11 is what they should be. There we go. And if you wanted to make it, you could come in here and do that even. Have a little bitty tree or one that's way off in the distance there because it's perspective. Further away, the smaller it is, the further away it is. But also it will be higher up and further away. But we're just going to do a couple placements and a couple different. Actually, let's bring the smaller ones over here. And then these guys, I'll close this and put them in the middle because I'm liking the spacing on those. I can shrink it down and get something like that right there. I think I'm gonna like that. All right, so let's go ahead and put that one on the same layer, and let's look at closing this up. All right, where? Go to node editing. I'm going to break it here. Connect it there. Delete, delete. And line. Oh, didn't mean to do that. I want to go to node editing. B for break. Select all of those and we'll drag it in a little bit. L for line right here. L. And I can stretch that down or whatever. There's a tree. And now I need to close this one up. Pencil tool. And guys, I apologize if I have not been paying attention to comments. My brain is fragged today. Do that and select, not that, selector tool, node editing. Get rid of that one. I hit the delete. I do that at least 5 times on node editing. If you hit the delete button when you're in node editing, the entire image will go away. Then you just hit undo or Control Z, and you use the letter D to delete individual nodes, not the delete button. So Control Z, undo, and then select that again and hit the letter D for delete. And now let's connect that up. And somewhere it is still open. Right here is still open. All right. So that and that. There we go. So now that's closed. So I got 2 trees. And I'll take this one. All right. So I'm kind of liking that. I'm liking that position where those are at. And I can get this right here, get rid of that. Now, how do I get those into the next layer? Well, the next layer is going to incorporate this right here. Control D, duplicate that, bring that over here. Now I'm going to select, I'm going to hold shift and select the C11 layer over here. I'm holding shift and click on C11, and that's going to select everything that's on that green layer. And I'm going to tell it to group. And then I'm going to tell it to come over here and actually, you know what? Before I do that, I'm going to take this one and this one and align them. And actually, I need to be able to see it. So let's go into wireframe course. So this one needs to move to the center of that one. So now it's perfectly centered with that one. So now I can take all of C11 and we're going to align it to the bottom first. And that puts them in position horizontally. But now I can take and just move them down because I had them centered where I wanted. And I had that up a little bit proud. So, okay, that looks like that's pretty good. Now it's a matter of how do I get those trees into the letters? We're back to using Boolean tools. And we've got part of the trees that are extending below the outer offset. And because of that, we don't want to do Booleans with including that outer offset because we don't want that part. We only want the part that's in that in the part of the letters. So if I take, that's all grouped right now, and that's a duplicate. I've got my original. We're going to ungroup that. I'm going to get my H, my O, not the offset, but the actual letters, and the O over here. Group all of it, hold shift, and actually let's actually we go ahead and put those on the red layer. Now hold shift and select the letters and control B for the Boolean assistant. Uh-oh. Boolean assistant's not opening. Why is the Boolean assistant not opening? Because one or more of those shapes is still open. Even though when it's in the window filled smooth and it showed those as a solid green or solid tree and they were filled, that just means the nodes were perfectly placed to create that fill, but they're still open. And that's why Boolean will not open right now. So how do I determine which is which? Easy. I'm going to come back here and I'm going to grab just that tree. Actually ungroup them all again. Grab just these trees right here and come up here to edit and look, is closed path grayed out? And it is. So that's a closed path. Come over here to this one, grab it, edit. It's grayed out. Let's grab this one, edit. It's not grayed out. See, I have the option to select closed path. So that's the open tree. We'll check them all. Edit. Closed path is not an option. So now I should be able to select my trees one more time. Group those. my H's and the O's also are still grouped. So that select my letters, hold shift, select my trees, control B. There you go. I got Boolean assistant now. And it's little things like that that will drive you nuts when you can't get something to work that you know should be working, because it was in fill mode and it showed. If it's an open shape, it typically will not show you a solid filled image. It would still be in line mode, even though you had it in fill mode. So the way when you know that you should be getting your Boolean options, even if you're not trying to use the Boolean assistant, if you've selected A, hold shift and select B, and you're not getting the option to use the Boolean tools on that left side of the menu, then you've got open shapes somewhere. That's the first thing to look for. And to find those, just select each individual shape and go up there and see if you can close the path. All right, so now we've got that. We've got our Boolean assistant. We can start going down through there and seeing what, that's not what we want. That looks like those are the right trees, but I'm missing all my letters. There we go. That's what I want. That's not what I want. That's it. Say okay. And now I can take all of that and group all of that. And that is the next layer that would go right here. And there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 layers. And now to make sure it's all going to do what I want it to be when I get it done, I'm going to put each of these. Actually, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take all of these. I'm going to duplicate them. I like to do my duplicates. Take this one, and I'm going to put it on my sky layer. And it's going to be fill. This is going to be my mountains. Let's put it on a, you know what? Let's do Purple Mountains Majesty. We'll make that one blue or purple. And I don't know what, in the last update, it brought in a whole bunch of, I'm guessing these are like fiber settings, because it's not anything I ever used. Make default and okay. And move that there. This will be white. So I'm going to put it on that 08 layer, and there. So that shows me that those weren't grouped. So down here, I know I've got some grouping to do. So I'm going to select all of that layer and group it. So now select all that and put it on the same layer. There we go. Put it in fill and move it up. And this will be the green layer. And this one will be whatever accent you want your outer piece to be. You might want it white. You might want it blue. If it's for a little girl's name, you might want it hot pink. You know, you move that up here. And now I think I got the priority right. So now if I select every one of those and bullseye them, something didn't line up somewhere. Let's put them at the top. There we go. Something. Oh, you know what? There's that group. I got some mess going on. I didn't have that group. Oh, is that not? I must have more than undo. Did I not get all of that when I selected it? Nope. I didn't group that one. I grouped the one below, but I didn't group that one. All right. So now we'll select them all and tell them align to the center and the bottom. And it's not lining up. I don't know why it's not lining up. Let's put it in window, field smooth. I must have some trash or something in there, because that should have all lined up. Let's select, well, actually we'll undo. I need to find out what's going on there. There is that. And let's take that one and center it over that. That works. That one's not centering up. All right, so there's something screwy with that layer right there. I'll put it on black layer. I'm gonna ungroup it all. I'm gonna look for any small pieces that are hanging out around the bottom or the sides. Okay, what is that? Nope, that was part of that. All right, I don't know why that's not lining up that way. Because when I put it in place, it's right. There's something, I got an artifact or something somewhere that's making that have a different. In fact, let me just look at the dimensions. The dimensions of that piece are, and let's put it in inches, 9.74, 13, 97413, and 29042. Okay, yes, that's a different height. These two show that it's 29042, and this one is showing 3.2335. So for whatever reason, it's showing to be a lot taller. It's down at the bottom. Watch when your corner where your corner markers. Oh yeah, I see. Yeah, that's down here. Where, oh, where are you tonight? Why did you leave me here all alone? Is it right there? There it is, right there. Ungroup. Right there it is. Delete. Thank you, Chris. 29042. That's right. Now we can group that. Put it back on the white layer. And that right there, it ain't going to matter that that's there, that I can go bye-bye, but it's going to be covered up anyway. Hold shift, put that on. So there we go. That done it. So now, but there's something screwy going on there. I got another artifact. I knew there was, I thought there was more than one layer acting up on me. All right, that one's got a piece on it because see it, same thing. It's that same piece. So undo, ungroup, grab that, delete, and put it back. Group it. Bullseye it, and bullseye it. Now, when I look at it in field smooth, I can see, all right, where is my outermost outline? 08. Oh, it's on the very bottom. I need to move it down. There. Oh, okay. There's the snow caps. So I got the blue, Purple Mountain Majesty, black. Oh, did I not? I thought I had all. Oh, the red layer. That's the one I'm looking for. Duh. And bullseye them all. There we go. So whatever color you're going to put that your outline on, but there is your finished piece. So now you can see what it's going to look like without even having to cut anything out, and make sure you've got all your layers overlapping like you want. There's 5 layers of blue sky. The blue sky is your very, very backboard. Then the purple mountains, and then the snow peaks, and then the trees, and then the outline for the letters to give definition to the letters. Yeah. 2 hours. All right. And so now you see, I did it. It was at least an hour and a half or 2 hours of doing this initial design with no audio. Way to go, stupid. Anyway, now something else that you could do if you were wanted to give some extra dimension or depth to one layer or more, if you wanted to give more depth to your piece, when you go to glue it up on the tree layer, take some random pieces of scrap, and where the trees are going to overlap and glue to the mountain layer, because the trees are sitting on top of the snow peaks and the outer perimeter. Put some scrap material in between the tree and the snow peaks to raise the trees off of the mountaintops, creating more depth and more distance between that layer. And you could do it to 1 layer, 2 layers, or all the layers to even get more. And you don't need complete outlines of all that. You just when you do that, though, that's going to set it off. You will need an extra, your extra top layer. You wouldn't. Yeah, you would. That top layer that I've got painted black here, if you're going to space it out 3 mil or your material thickness, you'll need to glue that in where you space out that tree line. I think my brain's just not working, but that's what he does. He will space those out to give extra depth to the design. Yeah, Led Zepp. I wish I could think of one of their songs right now that would be appropriate. Oh, I loved Led Zeppelin. I did. I really did. And right now I can't think of a single song that would be appropriate to your comment. Could you just add a top layer? Yeah, you could just add a top layer, but if you add a top layer, but in order to, if it's a delicate piece where it's going to be floating, you would put a piece of scrap on it so that it can glue to that other layer and it be supported. That's it. Yeah, you put an extra top layer in there to get the distance, and then where it might be fragile, just glue a piece of scrap in between that and the other layer. Thank you. Yes, Terry. Very good. All right, guys. I am going to go to bed. I really hate right now. It's 5 o'clock in the afternoon, and I know if I go lay down and try and take a nap, it won't be a nap. I'll end up laying down. I'll sleep till 12 or 1 o'clock. Then I ain't going to sleep none tonight, and my day's going to be messed up. I might force myself to try and stay awake a few more hours. But guess what I'm doing tomorrow? Nothing. You forgot to add a squirrel to the design. I hear you. I don't want to say that word too loud because she's asleep and I'll wake her up if I say it real loud. Oh, what a week. What a week. What a week. And what a way to top it off. Food poisoning, and you gave it to yourself. Way to go, stupid. I still don't know how I did that because I'm really careful when I'm cooking chicken. I mean, even to the point, I'm washing my hands after, take the raw chicken and I put it on the grill and I cook it to proper temperature. I use, the thermostat to use one of the Ninja air fryers. I know that not only was it cooked to proper temp, but once it's through cooking, I leave it on the grill to rest for 5 minutes after it's cooking so it can absorb some of the juices, and it's still cooking a little bit while it's in there resting for 5 minutes. So I know it wasn't undercooked chicken, and I wash my hands between putting the chicken on the grill and touching anything else. But somewhere, or if it wasn't, and it still might have been salmonella, or I don't know, it may not have been my chicken because I had a salad uh, with my rice and chicken, and it could very well have been something on some, because you see people all the time those you get the bag salads at the grocery store, and there'll be some kind of bug in them salads, and boy, do you pay. And I did. So it could have been the salad and not my chicken. So I'm pretty good about my chicken handling. The bathroom. The bathroom is finished. Bathroom is finished, except for putting and that was a question from Greg. The bathroom's finished except for putting the shower curtain up. But I was going, because when I was moving Dad in, and everything's kind of been put on pause right now because I thought I was moving Dad in. Then he's convinced me that he's got his meds straightened out and a new doctor, and he doesn't actually have dementia. His medicines are messed up. But now I ain't so sure. I'm still on the fence, and so everything's been put on pause for two reasons. One, he don't want to come here, and his mind is straight. And two, I'm broke as a convict. I tapped out everything I had to try and get this thing, because I could move him in here right now if I had to, but it ain't finished. I don't have a curtain up yet, and I don't have all the floors down in the room between here and the bathroom. I got to do some more painting, floors, trim work. And the trim work is as expensive as the construction is. You can build something fairly reasonable, but to make it pretty, that's expensive. So yeah, I'm done for right now, and I've got to come back to you guys. I've got well, God bless you, Desert Flowers. I've got to come back to you, my supporters. I've really I dropped the ball for a while I was doing the renos, and it shows in the revenue from YouTube. It just ain't there, and because I haven't been there. So I'm going to be doing more with my patrons, gold, silver, and bronze. I was worried about doing the patron only streams and have a whole lot of people coming in and showing up. But there's only been 10 or 12 people, sometimes 20 people that show up, and they'll get answers they need and drop out. Because I was afraid I might have to limit it to gold only, but I haven't had to do that because it's not been as heavily participated as I thought. And it could be because of time of day. But anyway, thank you guys. Thank you again, Desert Flowers, and then Moses. I think you did. Yes, you did too. Thank you. Colin says you'll be light burning tomorrow. No, I won't. No, I won't. In fact, on Sundays, I hardly ever even acknowledge emails or messages. Sundays, I have been giving it, as the good book says, as a day of rest. I've not been doing much anything. So, and that's what I'll be doing tomorrow, is not much anything. So hopefully, I seen a bunch of you guys up. I seen bunches of numbers up in the nines, and you know what? I'm going to scroll up just for giggles. There's 70 some of you still here, and just see if I see any questions that there's. I've seen Fred's comment. Thank you, and I acknowledged Moses. We all appreciate your hard work to educate us old farts. You might, yep. And I don't know if Alex ever chimed in or if she ever even made it. She's her request for help on trying to figure it out. And where people get so confused with trying to make those pieces, part of their is not recognizing the difference of trying to weld or subtract them from the outlines. You know, you're just that 3 millimeter outline, or doing it from the side of the whole letters. That's where people get lost. And whether or not the design is overlapping or if it's all internal. Questions, comments before I get out of here. What did Greg? What was? I missed his first question. What was his first comment? Missed it. But he's basically it's a shadow box. But it's well, maybe he can start over. Yeah, no. Can you change where you save your art library easily if needed? Yeah, it's just a matter of moving folders. If you have if you have right now, if you have Lightburn, if you have Lightburn art files in multiple locations, set up a folder that you want them to be in, and you is moving your folders, and I'm assuming you're in Windows. If you're Mac, I can't tell you for sure exactly, but it's pretty much the same thing. It's just different commands. But set up a general location. In fact, go over here back. And I'm assuming Wayne's still here. He may have already dropped off. When I get down, I'll see your comments if you're still here. But if I come over here and I go to my Explorer, go to my desktop, go to my Lightburn folder, I've got a folder in my Lightburn. It's a subfolder in my Lightburn folder for my art library. Then I've got all of my Lightburn art libraries in this folder. If you have them in multiple places, you just need, right here, I've got a Windows Explorer open. If I come down here and tell it to open another file Explorer, then you can go to wherever that location of that right here. Well, no, that's I thought I had one. You know what? Just for giggles, I'll move one. Let's go to desktop. All right, there. I'm on my desktop. Let's make that middle screen and that mid screen. So there, I've got two file explorers open. And if I come over here and that one I just created, mountain or mountains, where are you at? You got to spell it alphabetically. There it is, mountains. If for whatever reason I wanted to have this on my desktop, I just got to grab that, and I'm over here and I'm on my desktop. And so if I just grab that folder and move it and drag it over here, and I get right there, it says move to desktop, and let it go. And it's going to move it to my desktop. And so now if I go to my actual desktop on my computer, I would find that mountains. But let's say that's what you've got. You've got a whole, there it is right there on my desktop. You've got Lightburn library art all over your computer, and I'm going to turn you off there, and you want to get them in one generalized location. Well, get you up a second. I'm right clicking and open up a second file explorer, and then I'm going to put it to where I've got on. There we go. There is that. Let's go to my desktop. All right, see desktop. Go to my Lightburn. There is the file I want it to be in. Then I find where I've got those random art files and just grab it and drag it over there. Move it to the Lightburn, and now it'll be over there, and it'll be in its alphabetical location whenever I open it up and look for it again. So wherever you've got them at, just drag them to where you want them to be and move them into position. That's one way to do it. But guess what? There's always another way. But that's how I would do it if I had random locations, or if I just wanted to move them. And if you've got them in one location now, you can select more than one and just drag them all over into that new folder. So hopefully Wayne's still here and he got his answer. And Scott says you can save it wherever you want. Just remember where you put it. You need to have them all in one general location if your brain is anything like mine. Yeah, and moving it to a different drive, you can if you've got an external drive, you can do the same thing. In fact, you could actually just copy and you could leave them there and copy that folder and paste it into so you could take them with you on an external drive. Thank you for that. Greg, you're at the right place. I highly recommend becoming a gold Patreon member too. Yeah, me too. Patreon.com/hobo with wood. If you're still with us here, patreon.com. That's Rolly. Where did I not? Yeah, there it is. Show patreon.com/hobo with wood. And back to comments. Close that. Go away. And I love that Terry's. And for anybody that's in the stream and not aware, these numbers are just indicating that, hey, Terry said they're indicating they've learned 13 things in this video. Wayne, copy and paste. Yep, from one folder to the next, or from one drive to the other. But like I said, you can always another way, copy and paste, or copy and paste if you want to leave the original there. Cut and paste if you want to move it permanently, or if you want to move it permanently, just click on it and drag it over there. You got both of them open, just drag it in the folder you want. I like dragging them. I can see immediately that it's in there. And there's where Chris helped me identify that artifact. Got that. But once you've created two layers, once you've created the bottom and the top layer, it's not that hard to create that middle layer. A 3-layer project is not that much more difficult than a 2. Doing it to 5, now you've added a little more extra work in there, because now you got to duplicate that twice to get. But that first layer can be separated. You got your backboard, and that other one can be separated to create 2, your original offsets. That's a top layer. So it's not hard to get a 3-layer. I love that. And I was up to 14 things. Neat to 7 and 8. This will fill in my graying hair. Undo is your best friend. And always work with duplicates. That will save you a lot of gray hair. And it doesn't matter how many duplicates you create, because if you create a duplicate, you start editing and you're like, oh, that looks good, but I want to try this. Well, if you're not sure about it and you like where you're at, duplicate it again and then keep modifying. That way sometimes it's easier to just to delete that and go back to what you really liked. And we're getting there. Yes, and that was, add a top layer, and then a little piece for reinforcement if you need to. And I'd seen that and talked about that. Washer and dryer are installed and operational. They're not slid into place because I haven't painted the room yet, and I didn't want to move them 3 and 4 times. So they're in their general locale and able to be hooked up, but they're slid away from the wall so I can paint and do all the trim work. But they're there. Cutting boards are a common source if you miss a spot wash. Oh, cutting boards? I didn't cut nothing. I didn't cut none of the food. And now that I think about it, I think it might have been the salad. I don't think it was my chicken, because I'm really good. In fact, I had that same chicken the night before and prepped the same way, and I didn't get sick. I think it was the salad, because I didn't have salad the night before, and I had the salad last night, and it was one of those pre-bagged salads from the grocery store, and I eat them all the time. But you read in the news all the time that some of those contaminated lettuce or whatever. Uh, and I think it might have been the lettuce, might have been the salad. And again, thank you, Desert Flowers. And I see you said you're welcome. And Bruce, God bless you. Thank you. Uh, right, guys. Good night, and God bless you, Steve. God bless you, Dave. I just didn't want to miss any of your comments and questions. I missed Charles. Got to go back there. How would a lower chase? How would a lower case I work in your so the dot? If you're still here, Charles, I don't quite follow that. I don't know if it's a typo or something. How would a lower case? Oh, a lowercase I. There. Oh. Lowercase I would work with your offsets, and I can show you that. And in fact, I see and I've acknowledged your question. And I can show you that. I'm going to scroll on down through this comments. Charles, if you're still here, I'm happy to show you. But I'm not going to go through the trouble of doing it if Charles isn't here. Does it need tote an Artburn file, or does it need to be an Artburn file, or can it be a PNG or SVG to go into the library? I'm not sure where you posed that question. If you're referring to, does it have to be a Lightburn file to go into the Lightburn library, even if it's an SVG? When you copy that and try and bring it in, it's going to change it, I think. I'm not sure what your question is about, Crafton Gene. If you're still here, a little clarification. I'll see if I can figure it out. Don't forget to back up your Lightburn files. And Chris answered, crafting with Gene, you can any graphic from the work area, so PNG and others need to be imported to the work area first. Yeah, so once it's even if it's still and if you're still with me, Chris, correct me if I'm wrong, if it's still an image or a PNG and it's on the Lightburn work area, you can still select that and add it to the Lightburn file, or does it need to be traced out and converted away from the PNG or SVG already? Hello, John. I'm gonna get some, but like I said, I'm at this point. I think I'm gonna force myself to stay awake another 4 or 5 hours, or else I will not get any rest all night. But I'll sleep like a baby when I do close my eyes. Okay, and Chris answered it for you. Okay, you are good at reading Taiwanese. I hadn't heard that before. Taiwanese. Well, you know why I'm so good at Taiwanese? It's because I'm really good at making typos. So I can read between them typos. All right. So I did not see whoever that was. Charles. Charles may have already ducked out. Charles, are you still here? Going once, going twice. Are you still in the house, Charles? Okay. Crafton Gene says, please show the lowercase I. Okay. All right. And Chris says, I think I've added a PNG, but I have to check. All right. Okay. And Charles is still here. Okay, good. So Jean's already said she wants to see it too. So this won't take but a second. So how do you do a lowercase I and keep that? Stay. All right. Hide. Switch back over to the Lightburn and switch. All right. Goodbye. Okay, let's pick a name. And let's go to there. And I didn't get it. Come back there. There. All right. Now this one is a little bit funky because I got a curved letter here and a curved letter here, and these are all squared off. So since this is already balanced with a curve and a curve on the end, it would probably sit okay without me converting all that over to a path. But I'm going to do all that anyway. I'm going to put this in line mode, and I'm going to convert. Actually, I'm going to increase my horizontal spacing so I get space where I need it. I may not have needed to, but it's better to have it and not need it than to need it and not have it. So I increase my horizontal spacing, right click, convert to a path, group those two because that's individual pieces. These are individual pieces. That didn't get it all. Group those two. And now select all of it and do a 3 millimeter offset. And I'm not in metric, but it should have been 3 millimeters. And so that encompasses that eye. So the offset got it. Now this is a unique situation where you've got this offset is the same size as this letter L. So I'm going to say okay. And now let's group all that together. I didn't get it all. Oh, I got to ungroup my offsets. Dummy. Ungroup it. Now group those. Group those. Those. Those and those. Padding's at 0. Select all of them and dock it to the left. That all docks over. I still have my movement set up to 1 millimeter on shift and a half on control. So I'm going to do here 1.5. 1. That's a half. Now 1. I didn't get them both. Control Z. There we go. 1.5. 1.5. 1.5. And now we'll weld it. And there we go. Is there a way to make a material test? Oh yeah, absolutely. I went over that, and yeah, Terry says I think 2 weeks ago the whole live stream was on material test. So yeah, you need to go back. It's in the laser tools material test. You change your size right here, the height and width. That's how you change it. Right now, if I do a preview at 5 and 5, well, I don't even need to do a preview. Right there, it tells you right here. Here's your output size. Right now, it's going to output 82 by 92. If you change that to 3 and 3, it changes your size. That shows you how big your output's going to be. All right. So looking at the questions. So Charles says, thank you. Okay. So that right there keeps that in there. It's going to be that'll be cut out just like the letter U and the letter L. It'll be cut, and you could actually put, an image in there. If I don't know if you were doing. In fact, let's see here. Import, open. depending on how big your piece was, you could actually make that the dot rather, because if we make that big enough like that, and then you actually ungrouped all that, because we're going to say A, and actually I need to ungroup the cheer. Depending on how I want to do this, so ungroup it here and here, Control B. Yeah, I could do that. Make that and say okay, and then engrave that. So you could do even something like that. Instead of putting an image in it, you can make the image the dot. There's all kinds of things you can do. But once you do the offset, well, you get your letters in position, do all the offsets of individual letters, and then bring them in. I overlap them. I do a 3 millimeter offset and then overlap them half of that. Overlap them a 1.5 mil, and then weld them all together. And then that ain't going nowhere. I don't get the shading in my boxes either during the test. Okay. It's because you're in line mode. Let's see what Chris said. That may be because you have the layer selected. Yes, it's because you're in line mode, and you change that in the laser tools, material test. And right here is your material setting. When you're doing your test, if you want it smaller, you can change it and go 3x3 instead of 5 mil. Go into your material settings, and right here, when you click on the black edit material setting, right now you've got it in line mode. And that's just going to give you a line instead of filling in those boxes. So change that to fill. You don't have to worry about your speed and power. And I'm not showing you the screen. Durr. Cancel. You're welcome, Gene. So if you go into your laser tools material test right here, edit material setting. If you're only seeing a line instead of a filled box, this is in line mode right here. Change that to fill. Do not mess with these speed and powers because they're irrelevant. That's the speed and powers that are going to be controlled by the actual test generator. But the fill will make a difference. And if you wanted, you can do the fill, and then you could even add a line after fill that would give you a real clean line around that box to make it. And that's what I do. It just takes a little more time, but I try to make really nice material tests that I hold on to, and I've got them at my fingertips when I need them, and it just makes it nice and crisp whenever they're done. But to get the shading, you need to be in fill mode there in the material setting. If you're wanting to do a cut test, then leave it in line mode and you use your higher powers to see if it's going to cut out that piece. And that's how you get the difference between, an engraved test and a cut test. Line mode for cut test, fill mode for engraved test. Yeah, I figured that out. Like I said, this is not firing. It looks like fill to me. Don't know. Are you saying that you have it in fill mode and it's still not doing your shading? Material test is for engraving only for engraving is only half the answer. Also do an interval test. Yeah. Line intervals. Yep. Have you ever engraved duo acrylic plastic? No. If that's the dual layer where you've got the yellow and a black core and you engrave through the top core to the, I haven't done any of that. And it'll just be a matter of testing to find out what speed and power is, which laser setting is going to be better. Is it 10 watt or 30 watt? Because I would imagine you might get burned through that top layer, but you get too much melting going on if you use too much power. You might be better off using the 10 watt setting. I've never used the 30 watt with the acrylic. The only time I've ever used the diode in acrylic was when I still had the X full and it was only a 10 watt. Don't go by cuts and layers tab. Not sure. All right, it is in fill mode on your edit material setting. Well, let's go. Now I'm going to share. If I'm going here to my materials test and I'm in fill mode, I don't have any other sub layers going on. I've just got the fill going on. And I go preview, then I want to have all that shading showing up. If I come over here and I go into line mode and say okay and do preview, then I'm only going to have those lines showing up. And Greg, Chris just made a good comment there. If your line interval is too wide, it could be outside the boxes. But man, you'd have to have some serious mess going on there. You'd have all kind of engraving problems if that was, unless it was just in here only. Because if this was in fill and your line interval right here, okay, let's say what is my settings? They're 5 mil boxes, and if I had my line interval set at 5 mil for whatever reason, and say okay, it's in fill mode, but I got a line interval of 5. Say okay and preview, then I'm gonna get that because it's only doing. And if I did 2.5 on the line interval, then I'll get that. And Greg saying his line interval is 0.71. 0.71. So you're getting that. I don't know why you do either a 0.1, a 0.01, or 0.08. 0.0 or 0.1 rather. Is it 0.01? Yeah, 0.01. Come on now. 254 lines per inch. Come on. 0.1. Either a 0.1 or a 0.08. 0.1 is usually good enough, especially if you're using a 30 watt or 20 watt. If you're doing 20 watt or higher, then a 0.1 line interval is going to be more than satisfactory. If you're using a 10 watt and you're wanting really high detail, then a 0.08. But set your line interval to a 0.1 and do a preview and see if you aren't getting squares. And then once we get Greg's issue done here, I'm getting out of here because we're going on 3 hours. I've done 3-hour live streams this week. I'm tired, and today I'm sick. I'm not sick now, but boy, I'm sore from being sick. And I tell you what, ain't half the people are already gone, so I ain't got to worry about Hey, there's Ventori. How does it always make it here at the end? Hope stream went well. It's been a rough one today, Steve. I got food poisoning last night, and I've been up since 3 a.m. and I haven't had any rest. So this brain is not firing very well. But I went over how to do 5-layer or multi-layer designs today. Oh goodness. Let's see here. And we're trying to figure out right now. We're done, but now we're just kind of troubleshooting and answering people's questions. And Greg was having an issue with getting his test material to work. As soon as I get some rest, Steve, I'll be good. Because I got it all out of my system, and when I got it all, I got everything out of my system. Greg, did you get that? Did you get a result that you were looking for? All of my boxes are filled black. There you go. Then that was your issue. Then your line interval was so high that you were getting a dash, and because it wasn't filling, your line interval was just off, and that was in the material settings of the test material for your test material. All right. Editing. Oh man, you listen at him. I don't get jealous often, and I've got a big old CNC in the other room, but being that I don't know what I'm doing with it, and I've got such a learning curve to go with it, and I've made this. You may have heard me make the comment before. It's too expensive to waste material on that big old CNC. You don't have to use big material on it, but I find it a little bit more. It's going to be a whole lot easier for me to learn on that Cubico and get my learning curve down to nothing, and I can quit wasting big pieces of material on that big machine. I got 2 coming, and I can't wait. I was hoping they were going to be when they first launched the Kickstarter. They were talking about potentially having them to the ones that sponsored it 1st of May. And since I'm not a father, and I'm not a mother, I can't never remember. So let me get over here and look and Google Father's Day 2025, June 15th. So June 15th, about a month from now is Father's Day, and Father's Day is my anniversary for launching Hobo with Wood. And so my desire was, I bought 2, one for me and one to give away. My desire was to give one of those away. Last year on my anniversary, I worked with Leo and was able to give away one of my rollies. So this year I don't have that relationship. I've still got a good relationship with Leo, but not like I did because of what all happened. But I could afford to at the time. I couldn't afford to do it today if I needed to. But at the time, I was able to buy an extra Cubico, and I don't know which is right. I'm saying Cubico, like Cubico, and I think I've heard Clack say Cubico or something like that. More of a Japanese word, Cubico, or so I don't know which one's right. It's easier to see problems the bigger the piece. I don't see the size like you showed. Greg, I tell you what, brother. This is one of the, and I don't care if you're a patron or not. I tell people all the time, you are welcome to contact me at hobowithwood@gmail.com. And I will send you a link to this studio that you can connect with me. We can share each other's screen. I can share you mine, and you can share yours. We can see. I can walk you through it step by step and see where your problem's at. Because right now, trying to anticipate or figure out without see, it's a guessing game. Cubico, that's how you say it too. That's if it's not right, that's how I prefer it. Cubico. But Cubico, that sounds Japanese, like Cubico, uh, funky name for a Japanese girl. A Japanese girl with a weird shaped body. uh, but Greg, I'm gonna take. You know what? I'm gonna force myself to stay awake. In fact, you know what? You know what? What the heck? What the heck? Ain't but 70 of you still here. Greg, are you still in the stream? Are you still here? Give me a hello. And I don't know what y'all nature photography down bottom. Oh, Greg Wilson nature photography. The bottom there's a shade by power toggle. Okay. Yeah. And Greg's not answering. I don't know if he's still with us or if he's playing what is trying to settings, trying to figure it all out. But I was going to send him the link so I could talk to him. He's still here. I guess I scared him off. He don't want to come in and say hey or figure it out. All right. But I'm happy to do that if you got gone or you're not wanting to do that. You don't want to come on here in this stream and for everybody to see, and you rather do it solo, just me and you without 72 people watching. If you send me that email, hobowithwood@gmail.com, and if you do it in the next 10, 15 minutes, as soon as I log off here, I'll send you another link and you and I can get in here and chat and try and figure that out. Or you can go back, like someone mentioned, I think it was either last week or week before, the live stream was nothing but going over that test generator. Oh, hello. Okay. I'm checking more settings. Okay. Do you want to if you want to come in here and chat and talk, rather instead of typing, I'll send you a link and you can be in here and talk with us. And by you talking in real time, it's easier for us to give you more accurate answers and respond quicker. Because I'm done for what I was going to do with the stream, and since I'm going to force myself to stay awake, might as well stay awake right here and help you get that figured out. Thank you, Sharon. Thank you for all your support. Checking messages. Don't have nothing there. Okay. All right. I'm gonna call it. If you want some help one-on-one, I'll be happy to do it. I can't go sit down in a recliner. If I do, I'll fall asleep and then I'll be up all night. But thank you. I hope you found it. I know there's a lot of numbers today. I see up in the teens. So I'm glad that people came and hung out and learned something, and I didn't lose them in this mud up here. Thank you all. And for all the patrons, look for me next week. We'll find out some new stuff and learn some new stuff together. And my inspirations like this one has been coming from request in the Rolly Automation group and on the Hobo with Wood group. So I don't know what next week holds. We'll be surprised together. So good night, y'all. Good night, good morning, wherever you're at, because it's we got Chris in the house and it's 5:50 in the morning. It's 10 to 6 in the morning Sunday for him. So good morning. See y'all. Bye bye.